All right, so imagine this. The very people we trust to save us in a disaster, they suddenly sound the alarm about a disaster happening inside their own agency. And what happens next? They get silenced. We're going to break down exactly what went down.
But hey, before we jump in, do me a huge favor. Smash that like button and subscribe. It seriously helps us out, and you won't miss a thing. Thanks.
All right, let's get right into it. And buckle up, because this story moves at lightning speed. So it all kicks off with this number right here, 191. And let me be clear, that is not just some random statistic. That's a head count. That's how many FEMA experts, both current and former, the actual pros who run towards hurricanes, put their names on an absolutely explosive letter and shot it straight over to Congress. They were basically screaming that something is very, very wrong. So what did they get for their bravery? For raising this huge red flag? Get this. Just 24 hours later, the ones still working at FEMA got benched. Yep. Sidelined. Totally silenced. Okay, Section 1. FEMA staffers silenced. So let's talk about that. What does it even mean to bench a disaster expert? Well, here's the official jargon for you. They were put on administrative leave or non-duty status. Now, this is wild. They're still getting paid, they still have their benefits, but they're completely cut off. No work, no access to their computers, nothing. It's a pretty effective way to muzzle someone, right? Which brings us to Section 2, the explosive letter. I mean, it begs the question, right? What in the world did they say in that letter to cause such a massive, immediate shutdown?
Seriously? What could be so explosive that it gets almost 200 of the nation's top experts yanked from their jobs overnight?
Okay, here are the bombshells from the letter. They're basically saying that inexperienced leaders, driven by politics, are gutting the agency from the inside out. All those super important protections that were put in place after the Hurricane Katrina disaster, the letter claims they're being torn down, piece by piece. And that leaves the entire country wide open for another botched disaster response.
And this quote, wow, it really hammers home just how serious this is. They warned that FEMA is being dragged back to its pre-Katrina dark ages. Look, for anyone who knows anything about disaster response, those words are absolutely chilling. It's like invoking the worst-case scenario imaginable. So, that leads us to Section 3, Katrina 2.0. Is this just a bunch of office politics, or could we really be staring down the barrel of a repeat of one of the worst disasters in modern U.S. history? Let's put this in perspective with a quick timeline. So 2005, Hurricane Katrina, a total catastrophe. 2006, Congress steps in, passes major reforms to fix FEMA. Okay, now let's jump to just last month, July 2025. Texas gets slammed by these awful floods. 135 people die, and the response gets a ton of criticism. And then just a few weeks after that, boom, this letter from the whistleblowers drops. The timing, it's pretty telling, isn't it?
And yeah, the letter definitely names names. A central figure in all this? Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Her department is the one that oversees FEMA.
Now, she's no stranger to controversy, and during that Texas flood response, one official apparently gave her the nickname Homeland Barbie. I mean, that tells you a lot about the tension between the leadership and the people actually on the ground, right? And a huge source of that tension seems to circle back to this number, $100,000. So here's the deal. Secretary Noem brought in this new rule. Any FEMA contract over $100,000 needs her personal sign-off. Okay, so what's the problem? Well, when those devastating floods hit Texas, critics say this rule created a massive bottleneck. A crucial urban search and rescue team was allegedly stuck waiting for that signature for at least 3 days. And in a flash flood situation, 3 days? That's an eternity. And that brings us to our final section. What happens next? So you've got this standoff, right? Nearly 200 silenced experts on one side and the agency's leadership on the other. Where do we go from here? Right now, it's basically two completely different realities. On one side, you have the whistleblower saying the agency's ability to save lives is being absolutely gutted. On the other side, a FEMA spokesperson says, no, we're just reforming a broken system. They claim they're fighting a stubborn bureaucracy that hates change and that their real job is to help survivors, not protect the old way of doing things. But check out this quote from Jeremy Edwards, a former FEMA press secretary who also signed the letter. He says the fact that so many people were willing to risk their entire careers, well, it speaks a lot to the situation right now. His point is, these experts are speaking out because they are that scared. They're terrified that the country is just not ready for the next big one. So, that's the big question we're left with. Is this an essential, if painful, reform of a broken agency? Or is this a politically motivated takedown of our national safety net that's just setting us all up for a massive disaster down the road? So what do you think? I really want to know, is this essential reform or a disaster in the making? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Thanks for hanging out.